What is going on, Diablo 2 fans? Dobrunsky here, and today in this build video I am going to break down what I think is one of the most underrated and most niche magic finding characters in Diablo 2, and that is the Pit Singer. Now we'll kick things off by covering the pros and cons associated with the build, then we'll cover the attributes, skill tree, gear, mercenary gear, and then wrap everything up with some gameplay so you can see the example character in action. And like all of my previous build videos, timestamps will be in the description below, so if you want to bounce back and forth between the skill tree or the gameplay or the attributes, they're there for you guys to use, so please take advantage of them. Other than that, guys, I really do hope you enjoy this particular Diablo 2 build video. Let's jump in. Alright guys, so before we dive into the specifics of this Pit Singer build, I want to cover the pros and cons associated with the character, because like all builds in Diablo 2, they're going to excel in farming specific areas while also having drawbacks associated with the character. So I just want to give you guys an even playing field description of what is good about the character and what is bad. So starting off with the pros, the Pit Singer is an extremely safe character using a combination of awesome crowd control. So you have your iron skin, which is actually effective. Now I know I said crowd control, but I want to talk about iron skin a little bit because it's going to significantly boost the defense of your character, and because you're not using berserk, you're not pummeling your defense down to 0, so you're going to have a very high defense. And in combination with iron skin, you'll be using the skills Howl and War Cries, so you'll be stunning mobs and also scattering them, so you have a lot of survivability with this character in comparison to the Pit Singer, which is a little bit fragile. In addition, you can also stack a lot of magic find on the Pit Singer. This particular build has 656 MF, and that's not including the mercenary kill, so with a little bit better mercenary gear, you can be well into the 700+% MF range, and it's actually beneficial to stack magic find on a mercenary for this character, because as you'll see in the gameplay, the mercenary does 95% of the killing, so it's kind of an opposite build to your traditional magic finding character, but you can definitely stack a lot of magic find. And the final point is that, like similar to the Pit Singer, the Pit Singer can take advantage of the skill item find. So this particular setup has a 56% chance of recovering an item from a looted corpse. So that is just a lot of efficiency, basically having an extra half a chance every monster that you kill of recovering another item. So over the course of thousands of pit runs with like 5 to 8 boss packs spawning in your pit map, constantly using item find, it's going to, over the long haul, really increase your odds of dropping the very GG uniques that you're hunting for in Diablo 2. However, like all character builds, there's absolutely cons associated with the Pit Singer, and first up, it is a very niche-oriented character. In my personal opinion, it's really restricted to players 1 difficulty farming the pits. Now it is true with maxed res, you can expand your horizons to other areas like the Ancient Tunnels or even the Chaos Sanctuary, or Act 5 if you are crazy, but with this particular build, 95% of the monster killing is coming from your mercenary, not from you. And when you move on to higher difficulties, monsters have more health, so it's going to take your mercenary longer to kill. It really kills your clear speed, so I really think that this build is restricted to players 1 in the pits. Secondly, the Pit Singer is a mana pig. When you are spamming Warcry and teleporting around as fast as 105 FCR breakpoint sorceress, you are chewing through mana like crazy, and on top of that, you will run into the odd mana burn, so you need a high level mana recovery and a high mana pool as well, which you can get through an Insight Mercenary, investing additional points instead of vitality into mana, and also combining that with a really high level battle orders, but it is absolutely a mana pig. And finally, this is an extremely expensive build, especially how I chose to break down the character gear. I am using a 6-disted crystal sword, a really nice caster amulet, enigma. I have a nice insight on my mercenary, full inventory of 7 MS small charms, so it is absolutely a very expensive build, but I guess you kind of get what you pay for, right? It is an effective magic finding character, but very expensive. But that basically covers the pros and cons associated with the Pit Singer, so now we'll take a look at the attribute distribution of this character. So surprise, surprise, because this is a very niche build, the attribute distribution is a little bit different than the typical Max Vitus setup, which the majority of my build videos are centered around. So as far as strength goes, it's just the bare minimum requirement to equip the gear. Now, it's not actually 156. I only need 77 to equip my Enigma in a Dust Shroud, so I get 156 from the additional strength with the rest of the gear and the plus bonuses from Enigma, so it's not actually that high. Dexterity, again, is the bare minimum requirement to equip the gear, which I really only need 75 for the Isted Whizspike. The cool thing about the Pit Singer is that you can use a 6-isted Crystal Sword as opposed to a 6-isted Phase Blade on the Pit Zerker, so we don't need as much points invested into Dexterity, which is nice because that frees up more attribute points to put into Vitality and Energy. So as far as how you want to tailor your build from here, I personally put enough points into energy so that with battle orders I have 1500 total mana. It's just nice to have a large mana pool for like mana burn and a lot of teleporting and Warcry spam. Really, it's up to you. You can run less, like I wouldn't want to go anything less than like 1200-ish, but you can kind of tailor it depending on how you want to play the character, but I personally went for 1500, and then the remaining points are just put into Vitality. When this character is buffed with battle orders, he has 3600 health and 1500 mana, and between high defense from your Shout, Warcry, and Howl, you have a lot of crowd control, so I really feel like 3000 plus health is enough. You don't need like 5k health on a Pit Singer, especially on Players 1 difficulty. Now the reses are completely capped, which is another nice bonus, because we can use Whizspike as opposed to the traditional Pit Zerker build, which the res will be very poor. Even though the Pits doesn't really have too much elemental damage, it is just a nice kind of addition to the Pit Singer. I have 655 MF, which we actually need one more to hit a specific breakpoint, but that's not too big a deal. 105 FCR, which is the same teleporting speed as a 105 Sorceress, which is very cool. And then we have a lot of overcapped res from Whizspike, and I have a total of 18% damage reduction, 10% from Shaco and 8% from Enigma, so this is absolutely a very safe character. Capped res, high DR, and a lot of crowd control. But that is basically the distribution of the attribute points. So now we'll dive into the breakdown of the Barb's skill tree. So we'll start off by taking a look at the combat skill tree. It's very simple. All of our damage is coming from Warcry and the Mercenary, so we don't have a single point invested into this tree. Like, we're not using Whirlwind, Berserk, Frenzy, nothing like that with the Pit Singer. You get the idea. Pit Singer, Warcries, so no skill points in the combat tree. Now, as far as your mastery skill tree goes, we're really just putting points into the typical 1-point wonders, with the exception of weapon mastery. So typically, like a Whirlwind Barb or Frenzy Barb, if you're using a sword, you'll invest points into sword mastery. But since, again, Mercenary and Warcry is doing damage, we don't have any points invested into those particular skills. But we do have 1 hard point in increased stamina and 1 hard point into increased run walk. You could argue that you don't really even need to put 2 points there, because we're doing a lot of teleporting, and faster run walk has nothing to do with like Warcry and how fast we can cast it. So really, that's 2 optional points that you can invest elsewhere, but it does let you run to the waypoint quicker, so that's the reason why I put 2 there. Then I have 1 point into Iron Skin for the passive defense bonus, and then 1 point into natural resistance, and that's just a big solid chunk of res, which is really nice, and really every Barb build that I can think of puts 1 point into natural res. But then taking a look at the Warcry skill tree, this is where all of our skill points are invested, or the majority of them anyways. So starting off with Find Potion, we just have 1 hard point invested to unlock Find Item. Now with Find Item, you want to have it so that when you cast your battle command, you have just enough points to reach 56% chance of item find, which happens to be, on this particular build, 32 skill points, because when I use battle command, I get 33, which puts me to 56% chance of recovering an item. And then I put 20 hard points into battle orders, 1 hard point into battle command, 1 hard point into Shout. That's kind of, it's Shout is for defense, battle command is for health, and 1 into command for the extra skill. Completely maxed Warcry, and then completely maxed Howl, and then I put 1 hard point into Taunt, and then the remaining points into Battle Cry. So with this particular setup, a level 33 Warcry, I do just over 900 damage. So again, it's really to just supplement the Mercenary, because he's doing the majority of the killing. but you do want to max Warcry to get additional stun length, which at level 33 I'm doing, like I said, 870 to 901 physical damage, and then I have a stun length of 7.4 seconds. But that is basically the distribution of all of the skills for this particular build. If you guys feel like you would tweak them differently, like the Warcry skill tree or something, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. But let's take a look at the gear of this character. So there's a few main points that I want to cover about the gear on this character build before we dive into it specifically. But keep in mind, guys, you can always let me know in the comment section below if you think it should be tweaked differently. But really, we're trying to hit 105 FCR, stack as much extra mana and mana recovery as we can, while also stacking a lot of Magic Find. And I really do think that this build accomplishes that very well while keeping everything on the main hand. We don't ever have to switch to the offhand like the Pit Zerker does, and that's what I really like about this build. But covering the weapons first, working our way down to the inventory, I have a Isted Whizspike, MF faster, 50 faster cast rate, and all kinds of res. Very nice weapon. And I'm pairing that with a 6 Isted Crystal Sword for 180% additional MF. Enigma in a Death Shroud for teleport is absolutely mandatory for this particular build. I have a Shaco with a perfect topaz in it, 2 dull skills, attributes, life mana, DR, and Magic Find. This is really the perfect helmet for Pit Singer, although I will admit it is extremely ugly on a barb. The Caster Amulet, this is very important. You need a 15 plus FCR amulet to reach 105 total. So this is a 216 with additional energy and 24 mana boostable by battlers. So it's a very nice amulet to complement the build in my opinion. I have 46% MF War Traps, so there's room to squeak out 4 extra MF if I ever find a perfect pair of 50 MF Travs. Mage Fist, this is for the mana recovery and 20 FCR to reach that total of 105. Then I have Arachnid's Mesh, again increasing maximum mana, 1 dull skills, and 20 FCR. So between 50 here, the 15 plus on the amulet, and then the 40 between the belt and the gloves, that helps us reach 105. And then for the rings, 2 SOJs, really just for the increase in maximum mana. I really think for this particular build, you really need the mana, so I would not run Nagels over SOJs. Again, that's really up to you. And then on Switch, I have 2 Hodos, and that's just to increase the battle orders by a total of plus 6 skills. Now, it is true you can run 1 CTA with 1 Hodo for a total of 7 battle order skills. I actually didn't know this, but you can't stack 2 of them, so you can't get plus 8. I think it's a common misconception because even I wasn't aware, but I could technically run 1 CTA and 1 Hodo if I wanted plus 7, but I don't think it matters. Again, if you really want to min-max, that option is there for you. Now, as far as the inventory, we have Torch and Annie, kind of standard on all of my pluggy characters. I have a 39 MF Geed, so there's a little bit of room for improvement there. I could go 40. And then I have an entire inventory of 7 MF Small Charms. That's what gets us our total of 655 MF. Ideally, you'd like to have or shoot for 7% MF Small Charms with additional mana. Again, because the Pit Singer is a mana-hungry character. But that basically wraps up all of the gear. Again, it's very expensive, but we're able to stack a lot of Magic Find, faster cast rate, res, and mana recovery. So really, I think this is about as top tier as you can get for a Pit Singer setup. Lastly, we will cover the gear for the Mercenary. Now, there's a couple points that I want to talk about the Merc specifically in relation to the Pit Singer. First is that a source of Cannot Be Frozen is, in my opinion, mandatory because, again, Mercenary is doing all of the killing. So if he is frozen, it slows down his attack rate, which is ultimately going to slow down your clear speed. So you absolutely need a source of Cannot Be Frozen, and you also want to avoid sources of cold damage because you don't want to shatter corpses, because Shattered Corpse is a corpse that you cannot use item loot on. Again, things get a little bit interesting when I cover the body armor on this particular build, but we'll kind of dive into that now. So I have Fortitude. I'm using this because of the 300% enhanced damage. It just helps my Mercenary kill quicker. Now, it is true that you have a chance of casting Chilling Armor, which then if he gets hit, he will shoot out an Ice Bolt. But you're rarely going to shatter corpses using Fortitude because your Mercenary has a really high defense, so it's going to be really hard for him to even be hit. And the runs are so quick that a lot of the times he won't proc Chilling Armor. And then if he does proc it, it's going to add even more defense, making him harder to hit, so he's rarely going to shoot Ice Bolts at monsters. I really find that I might have like 1 or 2 shattered corpses in a 3 to 4 hour stream, so it's not something I would worry about. If you really want to avoid a source of cold damage, you could use Chains of Honor. But again, like, it's hard for the Mercenary to get hit. And when he does get hit, it's going to be even harder when he procs that Chilling Armor for more defense. And then skeletons as well are immune to cold, so you're not really going to run into the issue too much. Again, it's my personal opinion, but Chains of Honor is a really nice body armor that adds MF and no cold damage, or you could use Treachery depending on your wealth. The helmet is currently just an ethereal Kira's Guardian with nothing socketed in it. It gives him a little bit of FHR, cannot be frozen. The resistances is overkill because it's already capped with Fortitude. Again, you could IS this or maybe put in an increased attack speed jewel. It just depends on the weapon base that you're using and the rest of your gear. As far as alternatives go, you could use like Steel Skull, IS and MF, and Life Leech. And Dariel's is really nice too, but then you're going to have to cham the Steel Skull or the Andes to get Cannot Be Frozen. Again, a lot of different alternatives. And then for the weapon, this is an absolutely mandatory rune word. It's Insight. This particular CV is a 17 med, 6 critical strike. Based on this gear, you'd probably be better off using something like an Insight and a Thresher. But this is the only 17 med, 6 crit that I have. Again, it's really depending on the rest of your gear. You might want to use like a Cryptic Axe and Endurials, or a Thresher with no increased attack speed here. Or if you're using Treachery, you can use a slower base. Again, it's going to vary based on the rest of the Mercenary's gear, so it's kind of really hard for me to cover every possible setup, but that just gives you an idea of the breakdown. We want to stack Cannot Be Frozen, MF if we can, and a lot of damage because he is doing the majority of the killing. But that wraps up all the gear, guys, so now let's crush a couple example pit runs, and you can see the build in action. So again, running the pits, go to the Outer Cloister first, then I always on my offhand with the Hodos, do my buff with Shout, Battle Command, and Battle Orders. Then we switch back to the main hand, so we're always sticking on the main hand with this build. Now, right before we dive into the pits, I'll try and kind of illustrate the picture. So we're going to be teleporting to a boss pack, switching to Howl to Scatter, and then switching to Warcry, which is going to stun any mobs that aren't running away, and then we kind of basically keep spamming Warcry for a little bit of damage while the Mercenary gets the kill shot, and then we switch to Hork, and then basically just repeat. So Howl, Warcry a bunch, Mercenary will get the final kill, do some item find, and then you just switch back again. The really cool thing, like I said, is you get to stick on the main hand. We're not switching back and forth. So Howl, again, Warcry, 105 FCR on the main hand, item find. Grab the gem. Enter survivability. I'd like to do 3 or 4 runs so you guys can see a stone skin, because you'll see how much that really slows things down. Which is the reason why I like to stack extra damage with Fortitude, and you'll really get an idea of why Cannot Be Frozen is valuable, because if you can imagine how much he slows down the stone skin and then adding Frozen on top of it, it's not a good combination. It does take a little bit of a while to get used to the gameplay of the build, but I do think it's easier to play than the Pit Circer because of crowd control that you have, how stunning stuff. That's 1 pit run in the book. Maybe I'll do 5 so you can see a bunch of builds in action, or sorry, a bunch of runs in action, excuse me. Instead of just doing 1 single pit run because they go by pretty quickly. This is kind of, it's a little bit frustrating when you get them all spammed like this, because then you're going to end up having a massive pile of stuff to hork. But with 105 FCR, you can item find it pretty quickly. That was a stone skin. We actually went by it pretty quickly, though. Got through it pretty quickly. Alvern, I'll just let it go. There's absolutely a learning curve to this build, but stone skin. So.
I am overburdened.
You're gonna aim for, this might not be the best pit map, but you're gonna want something that doesn't have dead ends, so it's just a single path with as many boss packs spawning on it as you can. I'm not too particular when it comes to pit maps. As long as I get something that's not horrible, I just rock with it. But oh, there's a gold one. Really difficult to catch the gold champions and bosses. Didn't mean to do that. I just got hit with mana burn there, but because I have such a high mana pool, I don't have to bother potting. Which again kind of leads to why I like to run a really high mana pool with this character build. A bunch of stuff on my desk. A lot of Warcry spamming, a lot of hurrah, 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 but absolutely an effective character. You hardly ever have close calls. Again, there's just so much crowd control with the different Warcries, having a high defense, you're not dropping it down to 0 with Berserk. And then the stun mic from the Warcry. It's an awesome character. Really good to play on stream, too. Is there an aura there? Oh, that was our aura. Oh, I forgot to mention, you definitely want to be using a Might or a Mercenary as well for additional damage. I forgot to mention that when we were covering the Merc's gear. These guys are immune to cold, so you don't have to worry about the chilling armor proc from Fortitude, which we still haven't had a we still haven't had a a Shattered Corpse yet. So again, leaning towards why I think using Fortitude is fine. We'll do 2 more runs, 5 total. Things always get messy when you have multiple packs like that, but
I am overburdened.
try and do your best to make sure you check or I didn't find all the corpses. It is tough though. I'm sure especially when I'm streaming I definitely miss packs, but here's Stone Skin. Really slows us down. Good example. Another Stone Skin. The Mercenary is not focusing on him and it's just my Warcry, or her, excuse me, whatever the boss pack is. Clear speed is really slow. Because all the killing is coming from the Mercenary. one more run to illustrate this character for you guys. I am by no means top tier playing this character. It will take you a while if you're absolutely fresh to this particular type of playstyle to get your runtime down, get smooth. Like I would maybe give myself 8 out of 10 at the most. But it's like anything, more practice, you're gonna get better, more efficient at farming the builds, or farming the area with a particular build. It's like Greaves, get one really GG for build video. War boots, godly rares. Really? Carvers just get run over. And the rogues and archers are a little bit worse, and then the skeletons really take a long time, especially if they're stone skinned, but still. There's a little bit of a close call with amp damage, but that was just a rare monarch, right? Yeah, rare monarch buckler? Okay. Last pit run. Come on, Pit Singer. Another stone skin skeleton. Really slow you down. And Sparky Chest Pop. Ooh, double GC. Oh, sorry. 1 GC and a Great Helm. I thought it was double GC. Check the Grand Charm. Well guys, there you have it. That wraps up everything that I wanted to cover for this particular build video. And I'm curious, what is your guys' thoughts on the Pit Singer? I really enjoy playing him. He's a lot safer than the Pit Seeker. He's an effective magic finding character, but I do know it can be a little bit annoying to watch for you guys that are following the stream, just the constant hurrah, 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 hurrah of the war cry. But I definitely plan on utilizing this character more in the future. But guys, if you could throw a like on this video, share it, and even consider subscribing if you're new to my Diablo 2 channel. I post new weekly content and stream on a consistent basis, so there's always new stuff to look forward to. And your support with a subscription would mean a lot. Other than that, guys, hope you have a fan-frickin-tastic day, and I'll see you on my next Diablo 2 video or live stream. Peace out.